The third season of the Netflix show Outer Banks wraps up a lot of loose ends but leaves a lot of questions unanswered about the show's future. The news that Outer Banks Season 3 would also explore the riddle of the lost city of El Dorado and thus produce an even more intense adventure for the hogues than anything they had previously encountered raised expectations for the third installment of the series. Viewers also knew that it would feature the long-missing Big John Routledge and his son. This expectation only got higher. In the final episode of the Outer Banks season, they are rewarded for discovering El Dorado. But before the group receives formal recognition for their adventuring prowess, several of the series' characters are lost. When Warren passes away in the final episode of Outer Banks Season 3, these setbacks make viewers wonder about the show's future or whether it is even real. The season also raises a few other issues and leaves a lot of the plot open for further investigation. The final episode of the third season of Outer Banks features the Pogues in a rare state of contentment after proving that they discovered El Dorado's missing gold. The episode also features a time jump, just like the first episode. Through John B. and Sarah's conversation, viewers learned that all of the primary crew have generally good setups and have made some significant changes during the time the camera is not showing. Despite this, Season 4 of Outer Banks will likely investigate a number of unanswered questions for viewers, such as what exactly transpired between Big John's passing and their return. In the Season 3 finale of Outer Banks, the team destroys the path they took to El Dorado, which raises some potential questions about how they were able to provide others with concrete evidence that they had arrived there. Given that the season ends with them being praised for their discoveries, it must have happened because it seems most likely that Outer Banks Pogs were able to direct others to excavate in the right direction. The show might not answer this question completely. However, given how difficult it is to convince an excavation team to take on such a project, Season 4 might provide some insight. Topper confronts the Pogues in the final scene of Outer Banks Season 3, Episode 9, and calls the District Attorney General's office to officially charge John B. for an earlier assault. In the time travel finale, John B. is not in jail, and in their conversation about where everyone is at, he and Sarah only mention that they own a surf shop. This suggests that this charge was dropped, as it would be very different if John was still dealing with the charges or had already resolved them. Topper appears dissatisfied to be watching the Pogs receive their award in the final Outer Banks scenes of Season 3, which may suggest that his case has been dropped. Indeed, it would make perfect sense if Topper's case were dismissed as a result of John B.'s new association with such a positive news story. If he had been arrested, it might have hurt the island, and Topper might have had to drop the charges to keep his family's reputation safe. Season 4 of Outer Banks should hopefully shed light on exactly what took place in this scenario, particularly in relation to the crucial conflict that exists between the Cooks and the Pogues. It's understandable that many viewers might view this death with some skepticism every season, even though Ward Cameron makes a supreme commitment to win his daughter's approval in the Outer Banks Season 3 finale. It has been revealed that Ward is still alive and is prepared to fight the Pogues in some capacity, despite the fact that he appears to have passed away. Naturally, suspicions are raised by the third death in a row. So, Ward looks like he's really gone this time, but because of how he died, he doesn't have time to plan like in Season 1. And if it turns out to be a ruse, his emotional sacrifice was pointless. However, this is not a given due to the show's formula. The 10th episode of Emphasis of Outer Banks Season 3 is a distant shot of Ward, given his history of escaping certain death. After his death, when John B. sends the wounded Outer Banks villain Ward Cameron off with the Pogues to get their father to safety, Rafe makes a less formal request to Sarah to care for their father. John receives a specific threat from Brave. "You do anything to him, anything. I swore to God, I will locate you in an effort to safeguard Ward." As a result, Ward's death in the third season finale of Outer Banks is likely to enrage his son and rekindle his animosity toward his sister and her friends. In spite of the fact that it's muddled the way in which this will play out presently, Rafe's family storyline is wild sufficient that it's conceivable that this will rather bring about their compromise. The most intriguing and deliberate riddle of the Season 3 finale is saved for the very end, following the conclusion of their most recent expedition. Following a request from a potential client who hands them a journal, the upcoming adventure of the Pope will involve discovering Blackbeard's submerged ship. Because the journal was written in 1718, the year that the pirates lost their lives, the team appears to be tasked with finding Blackbeard's lost treasure in the final scene of the season on the Outer Banks. The Queen Anne's Revenge, Blackbeard's most famous ship, was not found in the real world until more than 200 years after it went missing, and Edward's last ship, the Adventure, ran aground rather than sinking. All of this adds up to a true story that prepares the Pogues for an exciting journey. Even though it is safe to say that the story of the Blackbeard's sunken ship and its treasure will be a much more exciting adventure than the search for El Dorado in Outer Banks Season 3. The way the show will handle it is